Welcome to the Business of Black Business, a 30-minute talk show that interviews Black entrepreneurs and advocates for Black businesses. The topics of conversation include access to capital, best business practices, success stories, and more. Now introducing our host, Jay Reynolds.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jay Reynolds. I own and operate Wolf Creek Consulting. We are a top-ranked executive staffing firm headquartered in South Florida. We have an office in Coral Springs, Florida, an office in West Palm Beach, and an office in Birmingham, Alabama. We primarily place people in finance, accounting, IT, and engineering. And welcome to the inaugural, the very first installment of the Business of Black Business. I want to say, first of all, I want to take a couple of moments of personal privilege to say that this is not going to be just a commercial for businesses. This show is designed to help Black entrepreneurs and potential Black business owners to navigate the very difficult minefield of starting, managing, owning a business. This show is designed basically to give you a really unique opportunity to gain access and hear directly from successful business owners. We want to talk about who they are as a person. We want to learn how they did it. We want to know how it all happened. I want to give Black businesses and potential business owners the opportunity to literally be in the room where it happened in these discussions with very successful Black business people. Now, again, when I was asked to host this show, I really jumped at the opportunity to do this. Not so much because I admire Dexter, Legacy Magazine, and his missions, but there are a couple of other reasons. The very first reason is simply this: FUBU, for us, by us. I believe that FUBU is very important. I believe that doing that, understanding that whole concept is very important. Now, Damon, if you're out there listening to the show, don't have your attorneys call me. I definitely know that FUBU is all you. Not trying to steal that concept at all, but I admire it, and I definitely believe in it. One of the things that's really important to me, and also, is understanding that what has happened to us over the course of the last year and a half or so. 40%, 43% of all Black businesses shut down in 2020. Most of those businesses, or many of those businesses, will never, ever reopen. That is a significant loss of generational wealth in our community. Number two, I believe that we can do better. And I believe that we don't have to wait to do better. I believe that collectively we have the resources to recover some of the losses that we've had over the course of the last couple of years. We can recover, we can do better. And the path to that recovery is access and education. With this show, all you've got to do is bring a certain amount of willingness to learn. I promise you to give you the access and the ability to successful business people to be able to pick their brains, to be able to understand what they've done, and to be able to understand, again, to kind of be in the room where it happened so you can pattern your businesses after that. When I started my businesses some time ago, most businesses, we operated in a silo. We had limited resources, we had limited internet, we had limited social media. But today, we almost have limitless resources. We can help each other, and we don't have to wait to do that. Now, today I have a really unique opportunity to interview what I believe to be is a 33-year-old phenom, a business owner that has basically even disrupted his entire industry. Now, to get started, I'm obviously going to read his bio, but my real intention is to let you hear from him, to hear his story, to hear how it all happened and why. Victor Demesmin, Jr., Esquire, is the founding partner of Demesmin and Dover Law Firm. Victor received his JD and graduate diploma in comparative law degrees in 2015 from Louisiana State University, my old alma mater. Paul Aber Law Center. Victor is a member of the Florida Bar Association. He was born in Boston, Massachusetts, and raised in Fort Lauderdale, where he attended St. Aquinas High School. In 2008, at the age of 18, Victor became a licensed Florida realtor specializing in residential sales and rental properties. He holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in business management and entrepreneurship with a minor in legal studies from the University of Central Florida. While an undergraduate, Victor served as treasurer of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity for 3 years. I'm assuming that there was not an A Phi A fraternity there on that campus, but he is a brother nonetheless. In 2010, he began a 2-year internship with Lockheed Martin in Orlando, Florida, as a master planner through the UCF College Works Experience Program. Victor was also a nationally ranked All-American member of the UCF undergraduate mock trial team. At LSU, Victor served as an admissions ambassador for the law school. During his second year, he also competed in the flurry for both criminal and civil cases in order to acquire real-life experiences and exposure to evidence and other rules of trial. Victor is a proud Haitian-American product and is very involved in the community here in South Florida. He is fluent in Creole and possesses conversational skills in French. I want to introduce to you Victor Demesmin. Now, as we get started, Victor, first of all, I want to take the time to thank you for being a part of this. I know that you're a busy guy and you had to be very intentional about carving out the time to do this. So thank you very much for being here. And I also want to just take the personal privilege to thank you for the things that you do outside of your business. I know personally that you support Black colleges and you spend your resources there, and you also support Black businesses. And I don't get excited about what people talk about. I really get excited about what people do. And I just want to thank you personally, take that point of privilege to thank you for the things that you do. So let's just kind of get right down to it. You probably own one of the largest personal injury firms in South Florida. Why don't you share your story with us? Who are you? And tell me why.
Yes, Jay. Thanks for having me on, by the way. I know you were doing your intro. I didn't want to interrupt because you sounded so eloquent speaking, and I thought you did a great job. So first of all, I want to say thank you for having me on the show. I heard your intro. I must say, I thought you have a heck of a resume too. Like Jay-Z said, you're not just a businessman, you're a businessman. You got stuff all the way in Alabama. So hopefully one day I can have an office in Birmingham just like you do. To answer your question, it's funny. Many people have been asking how we've been able to grow and scale this business so fast. And to me, it's kind of happened overnight. I like to compare it to a baby, like your baby, right? You have your baby and people haven't seen it in like 3 weeks and they're like, oh my God, your baby got so big. But you see the baby every single day. So you don't realize how much the baby's changed, how much the baby has matured. So for me, sometimes I feel the same way about our firm because people don't realize we started the firm back in November of 2019. It's barely been 2 years, but within those 2 years, we've been able to scale the firm from 2 employees to almost 40 employees. And that's something that doesn't typically happen. Right. But we've been able to do it the right way. We've been able to grow strategically every single day. But a lot of that takes a lot of sacrifice. And I would say starting with the biggest sacrifice and the reason why I am where I am and the reason why we are where we are, but I want to speak about me specifically, are my parents. My parents are the reason why I'm an attorney. They did the sacrifices they did. They came over from Haiti about 45 years ago. They came to the United States, went to Boston, got an education. My mom is a master's. She has her master's in engineering. My dad has a business degree, and he's been doing real estate, mortgage, and insurance ever since I was a kid. So they instilled a lot of the things that I have in me, from discipline to perseverance to determination. They instilled those things to me at an early age. And because of that, it's helped me mold this company into the person that I am. This company, I feel like it reflects me and my personality. And hopefully going forward, we'll continue to grow. We'll continue to add people to the staff. and we'll continue to make our mark down here in South Florida. But like I said, it starts with my parents. My parents did all the sacrifices. They put me in private school. I went to St. Gregory's, and then from there I went to St. Thomas Aquinas, played sports there. So they're the ones that did the sacrifice, and they're the reason why I am where I am today.
I want to talk a little bit about that, those two things. First of all, it takes a village to raise a child. I do believe that.
Yes.
But tell me a little bit about, you mentioned about you becoming an attorney. Tell us a little bit more about why you decided the law profession. Why did that happen? Why, of all the things that you could have been, from a rocket scientist to a master planner, you decided to be an attorney?
It's so funny because when I was a kid, I actually didn't want to be an attorney. I wanted to be an OBGYN. I wanted to deliver babies, which is, a lot of people don't know that, but
Yeah.
I did. And when I got to the age of like 6th or 7th grade, I talked to an OBGYN, and they were like, "Why do you want to be an OBGYN?" They're like, "We get sued all the time. What makes you want to be an OBGYN?" And for me, it was, I had an obsession, and I had a love for children, which I still do. I have 2 children, by the way. I had an obsession for children. So I thought the whole process of production and the whole process of delivering a child was something that was so amazing that I wanted to be a part of that. But once I was told that by an OBGYN, I was like, well, maybe I should look for a plan B and a plan C, because plan A might not be the best plan if I want to make money, right?
Right.
But then I fell in love with poetry. A lot of people don't ask me to do any poems. I haven't done poems.
I won't go there. That's for another show, right?
Yeah. But I did poetry for a while, and I actually performed in college and in high school, and I had a love for the play on words with poetry. And as I got older, I realized that I can use those same play on words in the law, because if you really think about it, the law is really just a play on words and how you interpret it, and not just how you interpret it, how the judge interprets it, how the jury interprets it, how the media interprets it, right? So if I can find a way to use those words that play on words that from poetry, right, and still find a way to help people, because I had an obsession of helping people. So it was a play on words and helping people, and when I mixed them together, I felt like being an attorney would probably be the best bet. And once I made that decision, I felt like it was the best decision for me and for my family and for my legacy that I'm trying to build here.
Well, obviously, that was a box that you checked that absolutely made a lot of sense. Talk to me a little bit about, you talked about high school and you went to private schools and stuff like this. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I'm a firm believer in education, right? Nothing happens unless a man, woman, whomever, educates themselves. So talk to me a little bit about your time in high school and perhaps your time in athletics, and how all of that stuff shaped and molded you to who you are today.
Yeah. So as I stated before, I went to private school my whole life. And as a kid, I was a little upset with my parents, because all my friends, they were all in public school, and they didn't have to wear uniform, and they got to do all the cool things. And my parents used to tell me, one day you're going to thank me. You're going to thank us for making the sacrifices to put you in private school. And at that time, I thought they were crazy. I thought they were ludicrous. But looking back at it, I realized that that time in private school is really what helped shape me, what helped give me the values, the morals, the beliefs that I have today. I did go to St. Thomas Aquinas after St. Gregory's, and when I was there, I played basketball and football. And I'm a true believer in sports, not for like life to make money, but I feel like sports helps build character. It helps build discipline, responsibility. And I think where I gained most of my leadership skills was on that basketball court. I played point guard, I played 2 guard. So I was able to learn how to communicate effectively with my teammates and learn, different reads, and learn people and learn behavior and learn personalities. And all of that, I've translated it over to my later life, which is being an entrepreneur and also being a partner here at Demesmin and Dover Law Firm. So I think, and I believe, I don't want to say I think, I know for a fact, that those 2 schools helped shape me and helped shape me to be the individual that I am here today.
Got it. Well, I pledged the viewers that this would not be a commercial. However, I want to dive into a little bit about what you do, right?
Okay.
What is a personal injury attorney? Obviously, many of us have seen your ads, and many of us have seen the gazillion ads on radio and TV about personal injury attorneys. But from your perspective, from the guy who sits, who kind of writes the checks at your firm. Tell me what a personal injury. What is personal injury law about?
Okay, now just so you know, at our firm we do personal injury and we do PIP, which is personal injury protection.
Okay.
So when I first started, I thought that when I was applying for my first job, that I was applying to be a personal injury attorney. The ones that you see on the commercials, that if you've been in a car accident, call me.
Right.
I got to the interview and they're like, you know what you're here for, right? I said, yeah, personal injury. I'm going to be a personal injury attorney. They're like, no. You're going to be a personal injury protection attorney. I said, yeah, personal injury. They're like, no. Personal injury is on the 3rd floor. You're going to be on the 1st floor. Personal injury protection. And I said, wait, I'm confused. So for me to explain it to you, for you to understand, this is the best way for me to explain it. Jay, you've been in a car accident, right? You say, hey, Victor, I've been in a car accident. Some guy was driving a Lamborghini. He rear-ended me because he was texting and driving. I'm hurt. I've got injuries to my knees. I've got injuries to my feet. My neck hurts a little bit. My lower back hurts a little bit. I need to see a medical provider. I need to see a doctor, chiropractor, physical therapist, anybody. Send me somewhere. Can you please represent me in my case against the person who hit me? Yes. Okay, no problem. We sign you up, Jay. We represent you in our personal injury department, our BI department, bodily injury. 6 months later, that doctor or that medical provider that I sent you to is going to call me and say, hey, Vic, remember Jay you sent me about 6 months ago? Well, we billed his insurance company, Geico, because Florida is it's a no-fault state. So what that means is the first $10,000 in medical benefits always comes from your own insurance company, no matter who's at fault. So even though that Lamborghini was texting and driving, you broke your arm, Jay, that first $10,000 to fix your arm is coming out of State Farm, if that's who you have, Geico, if that's who you have, whoever your insurance company, they pay the first $10,000 in medical benefits, right? That medical provider is going to tell me, you sent me Jay 6 months ago. I submitted his bills to State Farm or whoever your insurance company is, and for some reason they didn't pay me. I know you represent Jay in your personal injury department, but now can you represent me also in your PIP department against Jay's insurance company? Because Jay's insurance company didn't pay me. So at our firm, we represent both the medical providers who are underpaid or not paid properly by the insurance companies. And we also represent you, people like you that have been in a car accident due to negligence of somebody else, due to somebody not paying attention, whether it's intentional or negligent, it doesn't matter. We represent them in those cases. So to answer your question, a personal injury attorney, what they do is if someone's been injured due to the negligence of somebody else, or if they've fallen, slip and fall. I know you've heard that before, right? Fall, some people say you've been at a restaurant, Publix, wherever, and there's oil on the floor and you fall due to the negligence of somebody else, which would be Publix. We would then represent you too in our personal injury department. So anybody that's been injured due to negligence, we represent you.
Great. That was actually really good information for me. That was an education for me as well. I didn't realize that. Talk to me a little bit about, again, we want the viewers to be kind of in the room where it happens. I want to hear about your growth. I want to hear about obstacles. I want to hear about some of the things that you went through. Your company is less than 10 years old and it's kind of a juggernaut. So talk to us a little bit about the things that have happened to you that basically became obstacles and how you overcame those obstacles. And, without divulging a whole lot of information, kind of what those obstacles might have been, so that entrepreneurs like the ones that are listening to this thing will understand that they're not necessarily alone and things happen all the time.
Yes, no problem. And before I go into that, first thing I want to say is everyone always asks me about a lawsuit that I was involved in. And I always tell people now that, hey, I can't really talk about the details of that lawsuit just because everything's been resolved amicably. But there has been, like you said, there have been numerous roadblocks in the way. And for me, personally, that's never been an issue because throughout my life, I've had roadblocks, being Black, African-American, going to private school and being the only African-American in class, right? Being Haitian-American. So like I've gone through a lot of roadblocks throughout my life. So it was nothing new to me to overcome those roadblocks. Many attorneys, and I'm talking about many attorneys, not just here in South Florida, but across the board, especially the big time attorneys, they're very territorial, right? They've made their mark and they don't want anybody new to come in. And when they start hearing like, hey, there's possibly a new young sheriff in town, or sheriffs, I should say, right? Because I've got a partner. A lot of people don't like that. It rubs people the wrong way. They'll do anything they can, whether it's trying to block you on the radio, whether it's to try to outbuy things so that you can't get on the radio too, whether it's blocking you through clients, whatever the case may be. We've seen it all, but it's never stopped us. I tell people all the time, tough times don't last, but tough people do, right?
Yeah.
So, we were able to scale our firm from 2 to 40 people during COVID in a year and a half. Where, like you said at the beginning of the show, in 2020, where most businesses closed down. Don't get me wrong, it was a scary time, but at the same time, we kept chugging along. We kept working, and we kept doing the right thing. And I'm a strong believer in, if you do the right thing, if you help people out, I believe in good karma, right? If you help people out, it'll all come back full circle. So I always try my hardest to see how I can help individuals, how I can help change people's lives, because maybe in return, it'll come back to me. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. That's fine. But at least I know I made an impact. I made a difference in somebody else's life.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what I want to do, because I'm running out of time with you. I got a couple of more questions that I want to ask, things that certainly will help other small business guys. So I got a couple of other questions about your vision and how you remain competitive and relevant, right? And I know that's kind of an early question to ask a guy who's been around for 5 years, right? But at the same time, you've had to have a vision. You've had to stay true to that vision. You've had to react to things that would stand in the way or maybe make you pivot. Talk to me about that.
Well, yeah, I mean, first of all, everyone always says, what's the secret to success, right? And I always tell them there are no secrets. It's really just hard work, perseverance, and just doing the right thing. And eventually, don't chase money. My dad always told me, don't chase money. If you don't
Say it again, brother. Say it again.
Don't chase money. If you're doing the right thing, money will always come. So that's one thing I never do. I never try to chase money. I always try to just do the right thing and live my life the right way. Now, it's very easy to get here. Well, I don't want to say very easy. It is easy to get here, right? To get where we've gotten. It's like someone that wants to buy a plane. Anybody can buy a plane. Anybody can buy a boat. The hard part is maintaining that boat. It's maintaining that plane, right? Anybody can get a six-pack. Anybody can get a six-pack, right? That's fine. Anybody can get a six-pack, right? But it's hard to maintain that six-pack. So for me, it's really about just staying hungry. It's knowing that I have people watching me, right? I have people that actually look up to me. It's weird for me to say that, but I have people telling me like, "Hey, Vic, keep going. I see what you're doing. You're motivating me. I see you with your family." So me knowing that, me keeping that in mind, it always helps me to keep on going. It helps me to know that I may be changing somebody else's, negative thoughts about themselves because they're seeing what I'm able to accomplish. I always have this mindset, and I heard this in a Joe Rogan podcast, where, it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener at war. And that's an old Chinese proverb. And I don't know if you ever heard that, but if you can teach yourself certain disciplines, you can teach those and instill them in yourself. You can then teach them to other people and change their lives. Now, with the whole gardener concept, when you're in a garden and it's all calm and serene, everybody can be cool when it's calm and serene, but it's all about how you can react when you're being attacked, right? So it's better to be a warrior in the garden than a gardener at war. So I always keep that mindset, and it's not saying that, because you're a warrior, you're not kind, you're mean. You can ask my staff. I try to be one of the kindest people around, but at the same time, you've got to have that switch and you got to know when to turn it on and turn it off. And if you're able to do that, I think you can pretty much accomplish anything in life.
Talk to me a little bit about community. You have said this several times about giving back, about the whole idea about karma, about doing the right thing, and those things will come back to you. Talk to me a little bit about how you feel about giving back to the community and what you believe an obligation or I say obligation, but the obligation that you have as a successful business person to pull other folks along, and how important it is for other business people like yourself to do the same thing.
And I mean, that's the most important thing, right? I think that's the most important thing, the community. And for me, I keep that in the back of my mind anytime I'm doing something, whether it's work related, it doesn't matter, right? Because I know that in order, like Gary Vee says, in order to scale from 1 million to 100 million, you need people. You need people to support you. And in order to get the support from the people, you got to support people back, right? Life is a give and take. And you can't do anything on your own. As you know, you can give me all the successful people in the world, and I'll tell you that they all had people, like you said, it takes a village to raise a child. So at the end of the day, with that mindset, you know, there are a lot of people in this world that didn't have the same opportunity that I had, that didn't have two parents. My parents are still married. They're about to celebrate their 35th anniversary next year. So they've been
Cool.
married.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
And
Pass
I'm
that on
married.
to your parents.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And I'm married. I have two kids, and my wife's parents have been married for a long time. So like I have that solid foundation, but I know not everyone has that same foundation that I had. You know, I know that if certain people had the opportunity that I had, they could have been me or even bigger than me. So for me, if I'm able to help those same individuals, you know, that's on the street that maybe is asking me for $1 or maybe asking me for work, and I can change their life, or I can change their mindset, and I can get them to change a little bit differently, their everyday routine, whatever it is that can make a difference in their life. That's very important to me. And I can do that through community. I can do that through service. I can do that through speaking to people, young kids, you know, who just they don't have that guidance. They don't have that same guidance that I had. So it's very, very important. I always keep the mindset. Chance the Rapper always said it, you know, everybody's somebody, right? You know, everybody is somebody's everything, you know, and then it's true, you know, even that person that you see down the street that you may think he's crazy, or, you know, there's some life trauma that's happened to him. There's some mental
issues. Just don't know the story.
You just don't know the story. So everybody has a story at the end of the day. But if I can try to make a difference in somebody's life, you know, you know, that's the most important thing to me. And I have that platform to do it. And that's great, you know.
I got two last questions that I need to ask. And the number one question is about as a business owner, surrounding yourself with people. What's your philosophy about surrounding yourself with people as you have scaled up to grow? And what I mean by that is that I talk to people all the time and in my staffing world. And, you know, it amazes me sometimes, and I'm not planting seeds or ideas with you, but how sometimes they're afraid to bring in really, really talented, smart people because they believe that they won't be able to hold on to them, or B, they're going to find some kind of way to submarine them in some way, shape, or form. I don't know. But give me your philosophy really quickly, because I have one final question.
Okay.
About surrounding yourself with people that will help you to grow your business.
Or how about the fear of surrounding themselves with people like friends that they knew or they grew up with, or like family, right? So for me, I have a different mindset on that. The director of HR for me is my best friend. He's been my best friend since I was 14. One of the employees that works here, I've known him since I was 14. So I have family that works in here. So for me, you know, a lot of people are like, don't work with your family. Don't work with your family, because when it's time to fire them, you can fire them.
When it's time to fire them.
Well, for me, I'm not going to hire every single one of my family members, right? But if there's somebody that I see that has potential that can help change my firm, and I can help change their life at the same time, then I'm all for it. And I have that trust factor in them because I've known them. I've known them for a long time, and I know that they're going to do good by me, and hopefully they do good by me because I'm doing good by them. So surrounding yourself with good individuals, strong individuals, I think is very, very important for the growth of your firm. And that's what I've been able to do. And I think that's probably what helped scale my firm a little bit, to be honest.
All right, great. That's a great answer. Thank you very much for sharing that, because that's very helpful to many entrepreneurs that are considering bringing in family members and basically shying away from it for that reason that you just kind of spoke. But both of my kids worked in my business until they went off to school. You know, hey, look, you want a car, you want gas, hey, this is how you get it. But the last question that I want to ask you has to do with secret sauce, right? Give me 3 points of light. Give me 3 things that you can leave with these business owners that are basically points of light. Things that you can say to yourself, hey, look, you need to do this, or you should seriously consider doing this. These 3 things. What are those top 3 things that you would say to yourself? These are points of light, or things that I want to leave you with as parting wisdom.
Yes. Like I said before, I don't want to act like there's a secret sauce, because there's not. My secret sauce is just hard work and perseverance. But if there is a young kid that's out there listening to me right now, the first thing I would tell him is do it. Do it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your mom thinks. It doesn't matter what your aunt thinks. It doesn't matter what your grandmother thinks. If you have something that you're passionate about, if you have something that you're willing to do and you want to make it a career for the rest of your life, do it. Just because your parents didn't want to do it, that doesn't mean you can't do it. Just because your parents wanted you to be a doctor doesn't mean you can't be the best digital art person in the world, right? And make a lot of money. So that's the first thing. Second thing is have pride in what you're doing. Whatever it is that you choose to do, just have pride behind it. If you have pride behind it, you'll leave no stones unturned. You'll do the best work possible, and I think you'll be very successful. And the last thing I would say is balance. Like I said, I have a wife, I have kids. For me, the most important thing outside of all this is my family. Without my family, I'm nothing. Without my wife and kids, I would be miserable. Don't chase the money, because the money comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
But there are things in life that are priceless that you can never buy. And those are the things in life that you've got to enjoy, because you never know when the last time you'll be able to enjoy those things, right? Because life, as you know it, could be here today, but gone tomorrow. So enjoy the smaller, the more important things, the things that we don't think about, because we're always thinking about money, but there are way more important things in life than money. And if you can have that balance, then I think you can be successful. And everyone's success is different, right? Your
Exactly. Yeah,
maybe billions of dollars, right? My level of success is having a nice, healthy family, a successful business where I have a platform that I can help people, change people's lives, give people jobs, give people opportunity to feed their families, help people change their lives because they never thought they'd work at a law firm. And now they're working at a law firm, and now they're succeeding in a law firm, and they see that they can do other things in life outside of this law firm. I tell my employees all the time, you don't have to work here forever, but if you work here and I teach you something, and that is to go after your goals, go after your dreams, and accomplish whatever it is that you want to accomplish in this world.
Very cool. I got to tell you this, and just parting thing with me is that I'm asked, probably like you all the time, what's your biggest accomplishment? What is the biggest accomplishment that you've had? And mine has always been, anytime anybody ever asks me, I've been married for over 30 years to the same woman.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 kids that talk to me that still talk to me, that are college graduates, master's degree graduate kids that still talk to me. There's nothing that I believe that is a bigger accomplishment in my life than that. Married to my best friend for over 30 years, and have 2 kids that are successful. So
Yes.
I do get it. Now, with that being said, that kind of concludes the first installment of the Business of Black Business. I want to thank Victor for being a part of this. He is an extremely busy guy, and thank you for taking the time to share this, because it was huge. I could have probably talked to you for another half an hour or so or more. So to just conclude this first thing, the other couple of things that I want to do is just give people the ability to be able to reach you. We have a banner that's up there. So again, not necessarily, I want folks to be able to reach out to you and to your company and basically continue to support Black businesses, because I really, really, really believe that's important. I want to thank Legacy Magazine for developing this concept. This is important. For us, by us is extremely important. And Dexter, your team, Aaliyah, all of you guys that are behind this, thank you for doing this, because I'm telling you, it will make a difference at some point in time. I want to also thank the sponsors, your firm, Victor. Thank you very much for sponsoring this forum, and also the Florida Lottery. With that being said, the last thing that I wanted to say is just basically, simply this: if the recovery is going to happen, if these things are going to be, it's up to me and it's up to you. You have to, kind of like Michael Jackson would say, you got to look at the man in the mirror. I totally believe that. Thank you guys for the people that tuned in. And same time, same station, next Monday. Thank you very much.